Finally, I want to comment on the North Precinct Station. As you know, the North Precinct Station, of course, first of all, is all of Seattle's police station, though it will be situated to service districts 4, 5, and 6, which is approximately 300,000 residents. And that's not including the thousands of students, the colleges, the hospitals, and well over 2,000 businesses. But I want to thank Councilmember Gonzalez. I've been working closely with her on the resolution about the incorporation of the consent decree and community policing and what that means. Also, I wanted to make sure that people understood that what we're talking about is replacing a 35-year-old structure in which the state of Washington and the city of Seattle has a duty as elected officials when it comes to public safety. And I think that's important to point out. I also want to thank central staff. They've been great with us in working with the language and what that means about community policing. How that a brick and mortar structure can embody what community policing means. I want to thank Chief O'Toole and other staff that have been working with us behind the scenes diligently. But more importantly, I want to thank the residents of Districts 4, 5, and 6 who have been clear about their intent and what their concern is about a police station. And also, I just want to end on this note. This is a narrative about brick and mortar. This is a narrative about public safety. I will not allow another narrative to conflate here. I will not allow a politicization of anything more than that we're replacing a police station where this conversation started in 1998. There were 12 issues or 12 sites that were pointed out. It was narrowed down to 4, and then it was narrowed down to 1. My concern is that this conversation started in 1998. We did a study in 2012. And I should point out that the prior council in 2015 voted 3 times 9-0 to buy this property and move forward on a brick and mortar structure. And so a lot of my concerns, a lot of what I feel about this is all of Seattle's police station, because as we learned from, I was going to say Detective Chief O'Toole, is per the consent decree. And what we learned from the Seattle Police Department, the investigation and the MOU, and certainly the monitor's recent 15-page order that just came out last week that I read, is that we have to embody all the principles of community policing. And in order to do that, they have to be in a building. I don't know about the rest of the world, but I'm not afraid of a building. I'm not afraid of the people in the building because I know I have something to say about the people in the building. And I want that narrative to be loud and clear. And I also want to be very well noted that this is all of Seattle's police station because the consent decree requires more training, implicit bias training, and we know that now it has increased, that the Chief O'Toole has shared that the training has now increased 5-fold. And if we are going to hire an additional 200 officers, they're not all going to be deployed in the north end. This is a training station for all of Seattle. We can talk about what that price tag means, but I think it's important that, that remember that this is a public safety issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Juarez. Councilmember Gonzalez?
Can I just?
I didn't know we were voting on that this afternoon.
No,
by the way,
we're not voting on that. That was a lot of information from Councilmember Juarez that I appreciate hearing your perspective, and I know that she and I have been in contact outside of committee, having conversations that are aligned with what she just mentioned. I just want to clarify that you mentioned that we got an order from the judge last week. We did not get an order from the judge last week. We got a letter from the monitor to the judge. I just wanted to clarify that it wasn't an order from the judge. We have not gotten an order from the judge related to any sort of accountability reforms. And so just wanted to put that out there. So again, I think the purpose of the resolution that I am shepherding through this process, through my committee process, and ultimately through full council is an attempt to reconcile the various policy issues that have been flagged related to the North Police Precinct. I think there is certainly value to the concerns around what does this represent in the context of community policing. And there's also a significant amount of value to the public safety concerns that have been expressed by Councilmember Juarez and that I've expressed as well. And so I think we will bring those issues together, and we will do our best to not only move this capital project forward in a fiscally responsible way, but to also make sure that we provide space to allow for community to meaningfully influence how for example, public spaces or community spaces currently designed into the North Precinct will be used. So I will leave it at that. But I am really excited about continuing this conversation through my committee.
I'm sorry, I should apologize. What I meant to say is we got a 15-page report from the federal monitor, and the court will be ruling on the 15th. So that's what I meant to say. I apologize.
Councilmember O'Brien.
Yeah, just Councilmember Juarez, I appreciate you highlighting certainly the longevity of how long this project has been in the works, and I appreciate your statement that you're not afraid of the building or the people within the building. But I think it's important, at least for me, to say that I've heard from a lot of community members who are afraid of the people in that building and what that building stands for. And I don't know that those are necessarily inconsistent, but it's for a project that's been going on for nearly 20 years in some form or another, it's certainly been disappointing that the lack of like a racial equity toolkit to be done on this project or other types of outreach to communities that do live in fear of the police department. I think there's an opportunity here, though, to have more conversation to reconcile those differences and move forward with not just a building, but also a police department through this whole process. It's much bigger than this building, where everyone in our community feels that the police department supports them and works with them.
I need to respond to that because I'm really getting tired of people taking this issue about some people are afraid of someone in a police station. I was born and raised in a community with violence. I've been the victim. I've had families dealing with a racially biased judicial system and everything else that goes with it. So from whence I speak, I have walked that road. I have lived that life. So I don't want that narrative to change into something to some people who've never experienced that. I didn't walk through this life with privilege. I came from a community where police arrested us, where the only time they showed up was to apprehend. I also learned about it from being a public defender, a King County Superior Court judge, and working for 2 governors. So I'm not just spouting out political rhetoric to gain political points. I'm talking about brick and mortar and the community that's been behind this. That's my point. Because if we go down that road, then we're going to have a problem. And this is my other concern, and I will quote our president on this. We do not fear change. We embrace it, and we shape it, and we do it together as one. So if you make this a divisive issue about that, then we will have a problem.
So I appreciate that. And if I hear you correctly, my experience growing up in this town as a white male is very different than a lot of people, and I have not personally experienced police in those ways. And I'm not implying that I have either. What I have, though, heard from over 1,000 community members who have had a different experience than me and are saying, Mike, we want you to represent us because we have a different experience. And so there are clearly a lot of different experiences out there, and I want to make sure that all those voices are held up in this process, and we can work through that.
All right.
All right.
So,
All right.
by the way, we got pea patches here in about 20 minutes.
Okay.
Councilmember, were you finished, Councilmember Juarez? Everything
Oh,
good?
yeah.
Okay.
For today.
Thank you.
Good. Well,
Councilmember Bagshaw.
Thank you. I want